Today we are going to look at the parliamentary system of government and its merits, its demerits, and its various features. So first of all, what is a parliamentary system of government? The parliamentary system of government is also known as cabinet or responsible government. It is a form of government in which the executive function of the states are carried on by a cabinet or council of ministers. So in this type of a government, the function of the government are carried on by a cabinet or a council of ministers, and that forms the real executive. These ministers are politically and legally responsible to the legislature for public acts or its policies. The parliamentary or cabinet government is founded on a fusion of the executive and legislative powers. So, this type of government is a fusion of executive and legislative powers. And now moving on to the features of the parliamentary form of government. The first feature is that it is a nominal and real executive. A prominent feature of the parliamentary government is that it consists of two executive authorities, that is, the nominal and the real executives. Technically speaking, the nominal executive is the head of the state and authority is exercised in his name. The nominal executive may be an elected president, as in India, or hereditary monarch, as in Britain. So, the first feature of parliamentary form of government is nominal and real executive. Now, the second point is that close relation between the executive and legislature. In the parliamentary system, there is no separation of powers. The executive and legislature are brought into a close and intimate relation. They are closely connected. The members of the executive are ministers who are members of the legislature with a right to vote. So, in this point, there is a close relation between executive and legislature. They are closely connected, and the members of the executive are ministers who are members of the legislature with a right to vote. They determine the administrative policies of the government. So the members of the executives are ministers and they determine the administrative policies of the government. They decide what legislative measures would be introduced and when defend these measures and try to get them enacted. So it's a duty of the executives to introduce new laws and to enact them. They attend meetings of the parliament and defend the policies from the attacks of the opposition, the scenario which is happening in the parliament, as we all know. And the cabinet retains the reins of power only as long as it enjoys the confidence of the legislature. So, the cabinet always needs the support of the legislature. The two organs of the government are thus closely linked and work in harmonious cooperation. Next feature is that it has a collective responsibility. So the third feature is collective responsibility. The ministers who constitute the real executive in a parliamentary form of government collectively responsible to the lower house of the legislature. So these executives are collectively responsible to the lower house of the legislature. They sink and swim together. So if they want to withstand their power and their government, they all have to work together. So that is meant by this collective responsibility, that responsibility upon each of them. So they will sink and swim together. The principles of of all for one applies in the working of cabinet form of government. Once a cabinet has formulated a particular policy, the minister must present a united front before the legislature as well as in public. In case a minister does not agree with a particular policy of cabinet and feels strongly opposing against it, he must quit the cabinet. So that is all about collective responsibility. And now we have individual responsibility. The parliamentary system also contain individual responsibility. Each minister who is charge of a department is individually responsible to the legislature for the efficient conduct of the department. In case there is any lapse in its administration, he is personally answerable to the parliament. So, the particular minister who is in charge of a particular department should look after his department, and he is answerable to the parliament for all its merits and its demerits. Next, we have leadership of the prime minister. In a parliamentary form of government, the prime minister is the leader of the cabinet. He or she is the keystone of the cabinet arc. He or she is the chief spokesman of the government, both inside as well as outside of the parliament. This pronouncement are rewarded as authentic statesman of the cabinet policy. As the leader of the team here, prime minister is the leader of the team. So as the leader of the team, he not only organizes his team but also coordinates its activity and leads its direction to a certain extent. He or she has the freedom to shuffle his cabinet as well. And now we have sound and effective opposition. That is the another important feature of the parliamentary form of government. We have a sound and effective opposition, which is said to be an alternate government, is a very soul of the parliament democracy. If the opposition is sound and effective, it keeps the party in power and under proper restriction. It does not allow the latter to abuse authority and becomes autocratic. And now we are moving on to the merits of the parliamentary system. Harmony between executive and legislature. It secures harmony between the legislature form of government and the executive. In this form of government, the cabinet is in a sense of committee of legislature and is composed of the leading members of the majority party in the legislature. Its policies and measures are therefore generally banned by the majority party in the legislature. The next merit is that it has a curb on government autocracy. It imposes a curb on the autocratic tendencies of a government. Power is generally intoxicating and corrupts those who exercise it. But in a parliamentary form of government, those of its authority are under the constant threat of being ousted. If they go off the rails, more power in this form of government is not concentrated in the hands but is shared collectively by a group of cabinet ministers. So the power is not centered or it is not concentrated in one hand, it is shared. So so that we can impose a curb on the autocratic form of the government. Swiftness in decision is the next point. It is easy for the cabinet to get the measures it deals essential passed through the legislature. It can pursue vigorous home and foreign policy as it is confident of the backing of a majority in the legislature. The next point is that decision by the people. In this form of government, the major decisions are ultimately made by the people. It is for them to vote a party with its leaders in power, and when they disapprove the policies and actions of the government led by one party, they are free to reject it next time, and the general election thus the mandate for the implementation of policies and programs is given by the people themselves. So the people are the one who select their leaders. So they should select, or they should opt the one who should rule them or who should lead them. So all the rights are in the hands of the people. Now, moving on to the demerits of parliamentary form of government, separation of power theory is sometimes violated in the parliamentary form of government. It is criticized for violating the theory of separation of powers, the combination of legislature and executive powers in the same individual. It is claimed leads to the passage of tyrannical laws which are sometimes executed in tyranny. Unstable form of government is the next demerit. This form of government is very unstable. The cabinet form of executive is dependent on the vagaries of legislature. It remains in office so long as it retains a confidence in legislature, no continuity and constancy of a policy. The instability of government wrecks the continuity and consistency of policy, which is so essential for the efficient running of the government. A new cabinet, moreover, may pursue a policy contrary to the one followed by its predecessors. So, uh, here it says that unstable form of government is very bad for a government to function. Government should have a continuity and a consistency so that it can remain stable. So this type of inconsistencies and no continuity in their patterns uh, affects the stability of the government. Now, the next demerit is that executive becomes autocratic. It tends to make the executive autocratic, where the executive is confident of support by a majority in the legislature. It is like to become autocratic. So, if he or she has the major or the majority support of the legislature, then he or she may tends to be more autocratic, and that is also a demerit of parliamentary form of government. So now we have learned about the features of parliamentary form of government, its merits and its demerits.